Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Fake Nerds Watch for Star Trek Picard Season 2. This is Episode 8, Mercy. I'm Brandon T. McClure. With me, as always, is Cookie from Just a Little Podcast. Hello, sir.
How you doing, my friend? I just want to start off this episode real quick by saying I love Star Trek. This episode was perfect because of what we talked about in the last episode leading into this one. I love it. That's all I'm going to say, but we'll get more into it.
We are going to have a very interesting discussion today.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So why don't we just get right into it? It's a little bit late, but we wanted to do this before the next episode came out because only a couple episodes left, and I have a really busy schedule this week. So, you already said you liked this episode.
Yes.
I didn't.
I absolutely really appreciate this episode because it was world building, character building. It was a filler episode that was jam-packed, not necessarily with action, but jam-packed with plot and filling up gaps that we needed to get filled.
Okay, so here's my issue with this episode. It's the FBI agent. I don't mind the stuff happening with Seven and Rafi. In fact, I actually really like it. I really like the stuff happening with Rios and Teresa.
Yes.
I really like those. Yeah, I really like those two subplots. I'm even into the Girardi is connected to Seven and Rafi. I like those. It's Guinan and Picard with the FBI agent that doesn't do anything. It doesn't progress anything in the plot, and the only thing that serves the greater narrative is just kind of thrown at the audience as like oh, by the way, we should have probably told you this by now, which is that Q is dying.
Correct. Yes, and that's why I said it was basically a filler episode that brought a narrative together that I think we've talked about multiple times. You guys don't have a lot of room to go and actually finish out the series without rushing it. And I think they did a pretty solid job with concluding, okay, hey, this is what's going on with Q. This is the objective that Q wants Picard to accomplish. And right after that, we're getting two fulfilled prophecies that we want done. So all that's left is how do they go and solve the problem of the spaceship taking off and it being successful, and how do they actually return to their own time? Those are the only two things that are left.
Okay, so let's take this one bit at a time.
Sounds good.
We already brought up Q, so let's bring up Q. Because you mentioned that Q. So I'm now more confused than ever on what his plan is.
Okay.
And the thing is, with a show like this, and what I was really enjoying about the first couple of episodes, and what I don't really like what we've gone into in the last half, specifically going into these last three, is that Q hasn't been a part of the plot. So we end up just kind of having to throw the audience the answer. The question of what's wrong with Q. The second episode shocked me. Why Q's smacking Picard? He's scared. What's wrong with him? He's angry. He's unhinged in some way. What's wrong with him? 6 episodes later, oh, he's dying. Right, but I wish we were progressively revealed pieces of a puzzle for the audiences to solve, because that's how I feel. And again, like, the showrunners may disagree with me. People may disagree with me, but I feel like if you set up a question, the answer needs to come at the audience in pieces and not all at once in 3 words. Many episodes later. Like we know that the 2 things that we knew about Q: he's angry about something, he's unhinged, and his powers don't work.
Yeah.
Why? And so we're left wondering why, as he is manipulating Sung, as he's manipulating Corey, as he's manipulating Renee, for whatever machination he's trying to push happen for the future, for whatever this is, and we never get any hint that he is dying. We never get any hint that there is something that he does not interact with the main characters ever again
Yeah.
after that first moment. And so like I'm kind of rambling, so I'm trying to finish my thoughts, but like it I don't feel like just kind of being like, "Hey, the reason is because I'm dying."
Hmm.
Isn't it was a good way to deliver that answer,
I got you.
you know?
Do you think that the main reason why that didn't happen is, oh, there's a few reasons why I think. One, if
Mhm.
you go to the past when it comes to um, Next Generation, anytime that Picard and Q had their interactions, we saw Q usually at the beginning, we saw Q at the end, and we might see Q maybe one or two more times in between in those episodes or in those arcs. But for the most part, it was, hey, you guys are on your own, you guys do you. And then once you solve this puzzle, I come back in and kind of give you a pat on the back and say, here's your gold star for achieving what I wanted you to achieve and testing out humanity, testing out the resilience of humanity, and getting a more of an understanding of who we are as a people. And I think that this is what they're doing here.
I think you're onto something there, and I think that might be the thought process, and I don't necessarily hate that idea. Although there are many episodes where Q is always a part of it. Like there's the
Yeah,
episode where Q finds a young girl Q who
I remember that. Yep.
yeah, he's in that episode a lot.
Mhm.
Um but you're right. If it was like a lesson like in Q Who, he's very rare, he's very barely in that episode. He just sends them in the front of the Borg and says, "Surprise, sucker, see ya."
Yeah, that's it.
Um, but that's not you're missing the key ingredient, which is that Q was part of the mystery of the
Mhm.
season. And none of the characters are engaging with the mystery of Q. They're only engaging with the mystery of, well, what's wrong with the future? Oh, it was Renee. Let's make sure Renee gets on the thing. None of them ever think that there is something wrong with Q, that Q is doing something. Picard and Q don't have another interaction after the first one where he could be like, "Oh my god, you're dying. Is that it? You're doing this because you're dying?"
I
Right?
don't
He like Q doesn't even tell that to Picard. Like Guinan tells that to Picard.
because I think that Q sees Guinan more as an equal rather than he sees Picard as an equal. You wouldn't go and tell if you're a manager, you wouldn't go and tell your employees what's going on with you personally.
Oh, I disagree with that. I
Explain.
disagree with that. I think Q always felt Picard as an equal. That's why he is obsessed with him. That's why he likes him so much.
I think he likes him and he admires him, but I definitely thinks that humanity as a whole is something that is belittle him. He's always talked about how much he despises humanity and what they stand for and what they believe and who they are. And every single time Picard goes and surprises him and shows him the complete opposite of what he's thought.
Then why do what he's doing?
I think it's a way to go and test his theory of, okay, if this is in fact reality and I am going to be dying, I have a finite life, then let me do one hoorah with my good old buddy and actually try to go and get a full understanding of life because now I actually have one. So now he's looking at life through a different lens.
That I mean, he is certainly looking at life through a different lens. He says it in this episode, like it's not about the trap, it's about the escape. Like,
Yeah.
so this. It's not a penance, like he said in the first episode. This is still a test for
Mhm.
Picard. For some reason, this is important to Q. This test is so important to Q that he chose at the end of his life to do this to Picard. And I'm just so confused at what that is. Like, what is this test? Save the
You
future? We know this. We
if
know we know how to do this. We've done this before. This is old hat for characters in Star Trek.
if they give you if the writers gave you the answer, let's say midway in or early on, would you still be as invested as you are now?
But you misunderstand. I don't want the answer. I want pieces of the answer.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about with a mist with season long mysteries. This is where Discovery struggled too, but not as but Picard less so than Discovery. But Discovery struggled with this in this last season too. When it comes to season-long story arcs, pieces of the mystery need to be solved throughout the episode. At least I feel. This is just a me thing. Like, I feel pieces of the mystery need to be solved throughout the season, not like episode by episode, but like there needs to be a good flow of like, oh, we've solved this piece of the puzzle. Oh, we solved this piece of the puzzle. Oh, we solved this piece of the puzzle. And characters can only do that when they engage with parts of the mystery. But since Q is part of the mystery and he's not been engaging with the other characters, nobody has been solving the mystery of what the hell's happening with Q. They've only been solving the mystery of like, well, the future is changed because Renee doesn't get on that ship. Let's make sure she gets on that ship. Okay. But nobody else is engaging with any of the other mysteries of the season. So it becomes, so you get two things. So you get two things that happen in this episode. That's a good segue here. Two pieces of important information happen in this episode. Q is dying, and the reason why Sung is so important to the future.
Yes.
Both of which are handled in, I personally think, the worst way.
Really?
Yeah, I think they are given to the audience of like, it's like if I said to you, hey, what's your favorite car? And 6 months later, you said to me, oh, it was this, by the way. And that's a little reductive of it, I know. I was just kind of trying to make a point. Like I would rather, why is Sung so important to the, why is our future like this? Well, what do we have to do? We have to get Renee onto the ship. Well, why do we have to get Renee onto the ship? Because if Renee doesn't get on the ship, then we turn to Sung. Okay, well, we got to make sure that Sung doesn't have to do it. We got to make sure that Sung's plans are foiled. But the only one who's interacting with Sung is Q. And I don't even know why that is, because if Q is trying to move everyone towards Sung's future, what's he doing with Corey?
I think because they're trying to go and bring about why Corey was in season 1 and what was her purpose to Picard.
No, I know that. And I like the reference. I'm happy with that. I'm happy that actress is Issa Briones, I think is her name. I'm happy that she is Corey, and I like her. I like the Sung stuff. I just think that, like, with Corey, if Q is being like, okay, what do I need to do to make the future shit? Well, I need to make sure that Renee Picard doesn't get on the Europa mission. I need to make sure that Sung's research is good. Because everyone's going to turn to Sung. Okay. Well, only Q knows that. The other characters don't know it, only know a part of that story. And for some reason, Q is trying to push Corey away from Sung. And again, that goes back to, like, I'm just confused so late in the series. What is Q's plan? And I don't have any piece of that puzzle. There is no, I'm looking at a jigsaw piece with all white pieces. Like, there's just no way to start with, like, where do I start?
I got you. Okay. Do you think that maybe they're setting up Dr. Sung not for the season? Maybe they're just introducing him to elaborate more into season 3 to make it more of a cohesive story, because we have a cohesion between season 1 and season 2. Now we need to have, if everything goes to plan, God willing, or science willing, and everything happens to what Picard wants to happen, then where do we go from there to go and bring in a season 3? If the season 3 is going to be the last one, how do we go and kind of wrap this present up with a nice little bow?
I don't know if I trust that. Admittedly, Picard has only had one season, but it did end with a bow. They wrapped up the story. It was done. They shipped it off for this package and they gave it to us. Yeah. I'd have no reason to believe that that's not going to be the case this time around, because Discovery does this as well. Discovery is a serialized storyline. Yeah. Once episode 1 to 13, it's a one cohesive story, and they lock that off and they're done. They're like, good, we did it. Thank you. with the exception of, I guess you can make the case between 2 to 3 because of the jump to the future, but
Yeah.
I don't really count that. So I have no reason to believe that Picard season 2 won't just
Just
wrap
end
up
with
the
a bow.
season.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm not saying it's not gonna be a satisfying ending, because honestly, I think season 1 had a satisfying ending for at
Mhm.
least Data. Like, I liked the ending of season 1, even though I didn't like the whole season even though I didn't like the season as a whole. So, like, the last 2 episodes could, like, still blow me away.
Yeah.
It's just it's just I think we're too late in the season to have so little pieces of this puzzle.
Mhm.
I don't like
If
being so
we
negative.
do get all these puzzle pieces in the next, we have what, 2 episodes left, right?
Yeah, 9 and
So
10.
if we get everything in these last 2 episodes, they're gonna be some pretty heavy episodes.
Yeah, they are. They're gonna be packed full of
Yes,
information because,
as long as they
again,
do it correctly.
it really bugs me that Guinan is the one that told Picard that Q is dying.
Yeah.
I feel like that should have been a moment between Q and Picard. I do wonder if, like, the pandemic has done this, like, because these people are both so old, and
Mhm.
I know that the reason why Picard is sitting down a lot in this season is because he's
Yeah,
old.
yeah, unfortunately, yeah, and
Yeah,
I think you're
that's
right.
just reality.
If you think about this episode in particular, there was not a lot of interaction with multiple people for Picard.
Yeah.
So it's very plausible, and the same thing goes with Q. There's not a lot of interaction with multiple people. It's just kind of Q with one or two of the people around him.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the case, and I'm very sympathetic to having to film something at the pandemic, especially with people with multiple cast members who are high risk for the
Mhm.
coronavirus when they were filming this specifically.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm sympathetic to that. It is just a missed opportunity. I'm sure we're getting the scene. I'm sure we're getting the scene between Q and Picard. We have to. We
Mhm.
have to get something. I just wish that the moment where Picard finds out that Q is dying was a moment either that he discovered on his own or that he discovered while in the presence of Q.
Well, did Guinan actually tell him that Q was dying, or did she
Yes.
say she actually did say those words like, "Hey, Q's dying"?
Yeah, because you see it in the bit when they're wrapping up the FBI storyline when Picard goes, and he's dying, huh?
Gotcha.
Yeah. So he's got so like I get that.
Mhm.
I just to me it's to me the three mysteries of this story, not enough characters are engaging with it. They're only engaging with the Rene Picard, and they're not engaging with the Adam Sung or the thing. Like, the only time we've characters have met Adam Sung that we know is the Borg Queen and Picard once.
Correct. Well, yeah. All right, so I have a thought for you.
Sure.
I'm trying to remember the episode. There was an episode where Q was kind of banished from his people.
Yeah, I remember that episode. Good episode.
Okay, so do you think this is the writer saying, "Well, we already have a formula with Q. Why not just retell that formula in a modern time where Q doesn't necessarily know that he's not gonna die, but they have told him, hey, you're gonna die. Like, this is finite for you. It's over. It's done with." And now he didn't want to take that reality, but he's taken it now, unfortunately. And it's actually a test of humanity going and saying, well, if humanity can go and justify saving Q's life, the guy who has put them through so much hell multiple times, and they can still go and save his life, knowing that he's dying, and do everything they can to go and save his life, or do whatever they can to make his life a peaceful passing. That's showing humanity on a deeper scale. And maybe that's like entrusting humanity, almost like a Deep Space Nine, with the changelings understanding who Deep Space Nine is. Do you get me, or
No,
does that make sense?
it does. It does. I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily the what I'm seeing,
Mhm.
because I just I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question though.
It's a good.
Um,
Think about this. This show has literally, this one episode has brought so much talk and controversy between us two, just discussing what the possibilities are for this. I
Yeah,
think that in itself is a good episode that makes people
for sure.
question what's going to happen with the series, with this episode, with the future of Picard for season 3.
Sure. I have a question for you though.
Yeah.
Does do the writers need to tell us why Q is dying?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. I
Yeah.
don't think it takes away from the fact that we now know Q is got a finite life. He's not immortal as he once thought he was. And that changes a perspective on it and it keeps the mystery alive and allows for different things to take place with possible season 3. Maybe, hey, season 3 is why is Q dying? Or why do they now have a finite life
I don't
after all
think
these
Q
years?
is in season 3.
You don't think so?
No, I think at the end of the season he's dead.
Okay.
And I'm kind of with you. I also don't think that the showrunners need to tell us why he's dying.
Mhm.
What could possibly be the reason why this immortal, omnipotent being is finally just dying? And he's like, there's a moment that I do really like in this episode because I've been so negative and I really don't like to be because there's things in this episode that I really like. But like, so showrunners, if you're watching, I like this. I like the stuff in this. I promise. And so like uh there's a moment where he's talking to Guinan, and I do like that moment, the two of them together, when he says that like um stars burn brighter as they die, and I'm just
Yes.
withering away into
Yeah.
nothing. And he's like, I was excited. I was like, oh, what could possibly? I looked at it as discovering the great unknowable, and then that the point of meaning never came.
Mhm.
And so like he's scared that there's like so it's like he's scared that there's nothingness at the end of his life, and that's terrifying to him. And then there's the bit where he's talking about like I now have a lifetime. So he says oh, I have the quote. Um it's
But yeah, you're
somewhere
right.
in here.
It's about lifetime. He's like, I have a lifetime to figure out.
I have a no, he says I have a lifetime to can a lifetime
Like
redeem
reconcile. Yeah,
reconcile
the
uh,
wrongdoings.
all the wrongdoings. And so like I think that is a piece to this puzzle that's right. It's the black piece in the giant white jigsaw puzzle that
Mhm.
doesn't fit. That you just can't find a fit because it's like so Q is doing this because he wants to reconcile the wrongdoings he's done in his life,
Mhm.
or is he trying to was he trying to give like a lesson to Picard, maybe one that he already learned in generations?
Could be.
Um, but like Q's, while I like Q's moment with Guinan, it paints a different picture than the Q we saw in the beginning of the season,
Oh, yeah.
and it
Heavily.
paints right. And I think, and I don't think in a way that doesn't fit right now.
Mhm.
I'll just say, you know, I won't say it doesn't fit at all. I'll just say it in a way that it doesn't fit right now.
I can agree with that. I can definitely agree. And I think that's because we've grown up watching Q act a certain way and personify a certain character to now see him in a like a vulnerable state is something that we're not used to.
Well, it's not necessarily that. It's like even in the beginning of this season, it was a different Q than anything we've seen before.
Well, he was aggressive.
He was aggressive. He was manic. He was crazy almost like
Yeah.
he smacked Picard across the face. He was angry. And so like he says to Picard, "This isn't a test. It's a penance."
Mhm.
And then now it's like it's not about the trap. It's about the escape. This was why are you doing this to Picard? It's like because it's not about this. It's about this. You know, I'm trying. It's clear. It's clear now that he's trying to teach him a lesson,
Mhm.
but that doesn't fit with the. It's not a test. It's a penance
Mhm.
cue, right? It feels like a different cue even from the beginning of the season. And I'm not saying it can't work. I'm not saying that by the next episode, all of a sudden these completely white jigsaw pieces turn into a beautiful painting that's so easy to put together. Um, but it's right now that's kind of where I'm at.
I like the fact that you brought that up, and it made me think just now. It's not a test; it's a penance. we have multiple characters that are all going through their own sub arcs,
Yeah.
and each one is dealing with their own penance. If you really break it down, um, we have a pilot who's now falling in love with somebody from a different timeline, knowing that he
Idiot.
can't do anything.
That idiot.
We have a doctor who is alone, but now actually has a family that she doesn't want. We have a couple that is trying to learn about themselves at the same time trying to grow with one another. And it's the penance of dealing with not knowing who you are, not understanding who you are as a person. We have Picard trying to run away from his past, not realizing that his past makes him who he is today. We have
Yeah.
Q in the final end realizing that everything he thought was not a lie, but everything he thought about himself was, yeah, it was a lie.
Oh, you brought up Picard. You brought up Picard's past. Actually,
Yes.
you might have stumbled onto something there, because Picard says, Talon says, why would Q want to show you your mother? Like,
Mhm.
why would he want you to remember that? Why would he want you to relive that? And he says, and Picard's like, I need to know him. I need to learn more about him. I need to, know thine enemy. And so maybe I think perhaps the maybe the angry Q was a front
Okay.
that maybe Q put on, but again, that a lot of this would have been solved with just one more scene between Q and Picard in this episode.
Yeah,
A
it would have
lot of
been.
this would have been solved with another philosophical debate between the two of them, that leads to Picard realizing that what's wrong with Q is that he's dying,
Yeah.
not that Guinan has some weird intuition about, like, oh my god, you're dying.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't want to be negative anymore. Can we move on?
Last thing, I have to be
Okay.
negative about this, and maybe you
Okay.
can fill me in. Guinan,
Yeah.
why did she transport herself as a vision to Picard now, but she couldn't do that back in the day when they were separated and she needed his help?
Because they didn't think of it till now.
Okay, good answer. Good answer.
That's just the kind of thing that, personally, to me, that's the kind of thing that, like, you run into with long form storytelling. A series has
Mhm.
been going on for so long, a franchise has been going on for so long. It's like,
Yeah.
why doesn't Ben Kenobi turn into a ghost in A New
Don't
Hope?
you bring that in here. You
No,
leave that out of this.
no, but, like, seriously, why doesn't Ben Kenobi turn into a ghost in A New
You're
Hope? It's because they didn't think about
100%
it
correct.
until Empire Strikes Back.
You're 100%. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not
Yeah.
disagreeing.
It's that is to me, it's that kind of logic. Like, why doesn't this happen back then? Because they didn't think about it back then. It
Yeah.
served the
We
story this
evolve as
time.
story time, like storytellers. We evolve as storytellers.
Yeah. Now, mind you, though, Star Trek has less room to make these kind of things than Star Wars.
Here
because
we
Star
go.
Wars because Star
Here
Wars
we
has
go.
no, no, no. But I'm serious. Star Wars has the Force, right? The
Yes.
Force connects. The Force creates this kind of get out of jail free card for Star
Yep.
Wars, where a lot of things can happen. You can come up with some. Luke can project himself across galaxies because of the Force.
Mhm.
That makes sense. That makes Star Wars a very elastic franchise that can continuously evolve. Honestly, the Force is one of the most ingenious pieces of storytelling that has
Oh yeah,
ever happened in fiction ever.
I agree.
Um, Star Trek is very much rooted in science,
Science, yeah,
so it's much less elastic than Star
for sure.
Wars.
That and plausibility.
Yeah. So when you introduce something like this, you do run the risk of kind of breaking that rubber band. Like, you kind of just you kind of stretch Star Trek, and then you hope that it goes back.
Yeah,
Whereas Star Wars can just be stretched forever.
and just keep going.
Uh, but in this case, it didn't bother me.
Mhm.
It was a strange power, but it looked like she struggled with it. So
Oh
maybe
yeah,
it's so
she pulled.
maybe it's not something that she can just do willy nilly.
Yeah, she did a little Stranger Things 11, little
Yeah.
nosebleed going on.
Um. All right. One more thing I want to be negative about, because I don't like that. But the FBI agent,
Okay.
we didn't need this. We didn't need this plot line at all.
it filled in for the fact that Q is truly dying and he can't use his powers pretty much for anything. So what he's doing is he's persuading humanity.
Well, I get that, but this guy Wells is a completely unrelated situation to Q.
Yeah, because
Right?
of the alien experience. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's now there is a lesson learned in this episode that I really like, and so I'm going to do a negative that's going to lead to a positive.
Okay.
Um, I just don't think we needed this character. I don't think it added anything to this season, to this episode, to the show. We could have done a lot with that. We could have done something else with this real estate, like a conversation between Q and Picard. So like you kind of have this moment where he's so much like I need to solve this because I am from the Star Trek Enterprise episode Cold Creek or whatever the hell it's called.
Mhm.
I don't know if you know this, but there's a Star Trek Enterprise episode where T'Pol talks about her ancestor going
Yeah.
to Earth, being stranded on Earth. This is kind of a reference to that
I did not connect that, but now it makes a little sense.
because it's not the same time frame because
Yeah.
that kid would be
That's
too old.
Kelvin. Yeah.
No, that kid would just be too old because that was in the 50s.
Okay. And this is
This guy was
Well-
born probably in the 70s.
Yeah. Or
But-
even our time.
But in that episode, the Vulcans say that there will be another survey team coming to Earth, which leads me to believe that Vulcans came to Earth a lot before First Contact.
Mhm.
So whatever, I don't care. To me, it lines up, but you don't necessarily you don't need this. But the ending when he says, when they said, all humans are haunted by their past, and
Mhm.
Picard and this guy have this moment where they kind of
Yes.
where the guy's like, he's trying to rip out my eyeballs, and he's like, are you sure he wasn't trying to do this? And he does
Mhm.
the mind meld. And he's like, oh my god. And it's like, and then Picard's like, I'm from the 25th century. We're trying to stop this, trying to save the future. The best thing that came out of this episode is when Guinan says to Picard, you do the work because you want to evolve. In response to the fact that she's kind of working through it, the fact that humans are stuck in the past because you get stuck in there because there's something you need to resolve.
Mhm.
Hold on, I'm putting a piece of information together. That you get stuck in the past because you want to resolve something because that's the only way that you can move on.
Okay.
And that's why Picard was stuck in his head in the last episode with his mother,
Okay.
because that's the only way that he can evolve is
move
by moving
forward.
past. And that's the thing that I really like about Star Trek. So let me say, I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, but
You're good.
this is something that I really think Star Trek Picard has solved that Star Trek Discovery hasn't,
Mhm.
which is that Star Trek isn't about just the inconsequential notion of being hopeful. It is about bettering yourself. We
Mhm.
work to better ourselves. We work to evolve. We are constantly on a mission to be better. That's what the trial in the first episode of Next Generation is about, to prove that we are better than we were. We have evolved from where we were, and we are going to continue to evolve to be
Yeah.
better. And in order to do that, we need to resolve mistakes in our past. And that Guinan says, you do the work because you want to evolve. And I think that's a really good line and a really good thesis statement for Star Trek
Mhm.
and this season of Picard. So there you go. I got a positive in there.
I agree, and I think that was a good callback as well. That was a really good episode, by the way. I got out of it a little bit different.
I don't like Encounter at Farpoint. I don't like
You
Encounter
don't?
at Farpoint. No.
I like that. I thought it was a great episode. All right,
No.
bygones be bygones. But I got out of it the fact that because I am a Star Wars guy, and I see hope where hope is not there, or whatever.
Mhm.
And
That's Star
the
Wars.
fact that this FBI agent is, like you said, not integral to the plot line, to Picard, to the story at all. If you remove him, story continues on perfectly fine. However, he brings into this valid point of his past and what happened to him, and leading up throughout that time up until this point, he was led here for a purpose, and everything happens for a reason. and maybe that reason is to go and help Picard on his journey. And I think Guinan kind of mentions, I don't remember the exact quote, but Guinan mentions it to
Yeah.
him about that point, and it brings out a nice little moment where just because you feel insignificant in this world doesn't mean you don't have a purpose in this world. Just means that
Sure.
you haven't found your purpose yet, but your purpose is there. You just have to keep looking.
She says, maybe you had to be that little boy in the forest so you can be the man here to let us go.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I get you.
I know it's a stretch.
No,
It's a
it's not.
stretch.
It's not. I think that is intentional. I don't think it's a stretch. I think
Okay.
it's intentional. I just don't necessarily think it works as well as it should.
Okay.
And honestly, personally, I think it happens too late in the season. I think if this was going to happen, it should have been earlier.
Mhm.
The FBI, specifically the FBI agent plot line, because then you could have
Yeah.
this thing where maybe he comes back to help them for something, or But we're now episode 8, and we just had to take a quick detour. I'm not sure it was a. I don't think it was a good use of real estate.
We had to get an In-N-Out burger. That's all it was.
Yeah, we had to quickly go to In-N-Out Burger while on our way home. Um, okay, I have another question for you.
Yes, sir.
What do you think any of this? What do you think Q's lesson, whatever that is, whatever the story, has to do with the Borg Queen in the beginning of the season?
Oh, man.
Remember that? That's how the season
Yes.
starts.
That was one of my greatest mysteries, and I said, "You know what? Maybe it's just gonna stay a mystery, and we're not gonna get the answer to it."
I think we're going back to it. I think the last episode we're going back to that moment.
I'm hoping that is.
I
And
just
it's a
don't know.
delightful retreat to that.
I just don't know. I
How?
just don't know what, why, or how. Because we're so far away from that, and it's always in the trailer for
Mhm.
this show. Like every time I see a commercial for the show, it's always there. I'm like, oh right, that's how the show started with the Borg Queen destroying the Stargazer.
Yeah,
Um,
very true.
and so I'm always just kind of like, what does that have to do with anything that's been going on? Anyway, though,
I personally don't think we're gonna get it, though. I want it to be
we
so.
have to. We have to.
Do we?
Yes,
Why?
because I want the Stargazer back. Damn it.
That's the only reason.
Yes, I liked that ship. It was a nice ship.
It was. It really was. It really was.
Also, you don't build that set for one scene. Come on.
That's true. That's true. That is a
You
lot
build
of
that
work for
set.
one scene.
You build that set because you want to get some mileage out of it. Anyway, it's like building the whole set of Discovery and being like, well, let's blow it up now. Anyway, let's talk about some good stuff.
Sounds good.
Because I think there's good stuff in this episode. And if you've stuck around this long, sorry we've been so negative.
Speak for yourself. I've been pretty positive here.
That's true. That's true. You have indulged me and I appreciate it. But
No
like
problem.
I don't say any of this from a place of hatred. I
No,
really
I know.
like the season. I'm really enjoying these. I still really love these characters. The season is still a vast improvement over that first one.
Mhm.
I just the beginning of the season was a lot stronger than where we're going, and I want to see the show end on a strong note, and I hope we still do.
I think we will. I definitely think we will. And I think it's a good opportunity for those listening. Yeah, you showrunners. I'm talking to you, showrunners.
I'm talking to
Watch
you.
our show. Tweet at me. Don't tweet at him. Tweet at me.
Tweet at me. Tweet at me. I'm better.
He probably answered a lot more stuff than I can. But I do hope that they watch it, or I do hope that they get a sense of different people's perspective and point of view of the show in hopes that they will continue to evolve and grow the show.
There is a sense that I get from the production designer of the show, Dave Blast, who's great. I love following his Twitter. He posts all sorts of really awesome production design stuff for the show. I think the production design of the show is stellar, especially this season. But he follows like Red Letter Media, and he'll watch a Red Letter Media episode, and I'm just like, don't watch those assholes. No offense. No offense to anybody who watches Red Letter Media. I do not like them. I think they are negative for the sake of negative. And I don't think that people should watch them.
Mhm.
But who am I to say? They've got thousands, if not millions, of subscribers. I don't even have 200. So
Yet
whatever.
we don't have 200 yet.
Okay, it's been a while. It's not happening.
You
Actually,
never know.
I lost a subscriber like
Really?
last week. I don't even know who it was. I just thought it was
Oh,
funny.
sorry to hear.
I've been teetering in the 170s for like a year.
I I don't even keep track of it anymore. I stopped because it gets me all negative.
Yeah, me too. And speaking of negatives, though, now
We're supposed to go to positive.
let's talk about some positives because I think
Yes.
there's a lot of strong stuff in this episode. I don't want to talk about Raffi and Seven because I think that's the strongest stuff. Let's talk about
Okay.
Rios and Teresa.
Hmm.
Wonderful. I love their
Yes,
interactions.
I agree. I definitely agree. I I thought that the story that she proposed to him at the end was like, what is this girl trying to get at? Like,
Oh, but
this
it's
is not,
so sweet.
extremely romantic, and I thought it was definitely like I was
What
like,
she
man,
said?
he is flirting hard.
What she say? Tell me something. Tell me
If you were
something that
married,
in another life. Tell me something that in another life it would have taken me a decade to know.
yes,
Oh, one of the
and
most romantic things I've ever heard in my life. Are you kidding me?
and
You
that
gotta say
point.
that to your wife, like tonight. You gotta go to your wife and you gotta tell her that.
Don't get me in trouble now. I will say this, and I've seen it countless times in movies where the person is from a different time zone, time planet, whatever, and they fall in
Time
love with
Planet, yes,
somebody.
Time Planet.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, I've seen Lost in Space, the movie with the Time Planet.
They fall in love with a character, and unfortunately, it's not the person for them, so they have to leave that time. And then when they come back to their normal time, they end up bumping into somebody,
Their
and
ancestor
yeah, and they end up falling in love.
or the descendant. This was
Descendant.
a Oh yeah, I had a thought because remember Wells. Wells is the same actor
Yes,
who played the captain of the Relativity in Star Trek Voyager. Maybe that's his ancestor.
could be. Could
Um
very well be.
just everybody in Star Trek, they
Have an
always look the
ancestor.
same.
Exactly.
The gene pool is so strong in Star Trek. No, I think I don't think that's what's happening. And
You don't think it's a foreshadow for the future?
I feel pretty strongly that Teresa is going to the future.
You think so?
Only because the alternative is something I don't want, which is that Rio stays in the past.
I don't think he will, and I don't think she will. I think that she's gonna stay here because she has so much good that she has to do still here with her hospital. And I think that he has so much stuff that he has to do in the future. He's not gonna stay.
I think I think there's only two options, and one of them either she goes to the future or he stays in the past. And I really don't want that. I really don't want that second option.
Do you know who I think is gonna stay?
The kid?
Nope.
Who?
7 of 9.
Really? You think Seven's gonna stick around?
Because she's now getting so much more acclimated with her life of what it would be like if she was normal rather than being assimilated.
Sure, but theoretically, once they fix the timeline, excuse me, we don't know how we don't
How
know
they're all
how
gonna be affected?
we don't know how they're all going to be affected. Like it's entirely possible that once they fix the timeline, she could
She comes
just
back.
it just comes back. So like, does
Yeah,
it
very
really
true.
matter?
Very true.
And like Starfleet officers, they like know if we're stuck in the past, like just stay out of history's way. We're good.
Mhm.
We'll just find a small uninhabited island and just leave everyone alone.
Just crash
Um,
there.
but I don't think Seven's sticking around because I think that Seven and Raffi. Let's talk about Seven and Raffi.
Okay, let's
I
do
think
it.
this is the strongest stuff in this episode. I think this is their strongest stuff this season, and I think
Mhm.
this is the strongest plot line of this episode
Yeah, I definitely agree.
because I really enjoy Raffi being called out on her being manipulative.
Yes, yeah.
We saw that in the first season when like the whole reason why she was on La Serena was because like they needed her to manipulate a Starfleet officer to let them through something or whatever,
Mhm.
and so like she is very manipulative and when she says, okay, like Borg up, if you were her, like what would you do? And like Seven doesn't like that. Seven doesn't
Yeah,
like to be reminded of it because it is, it's I think being honestly,
the hurtful past.
Yeah, people don't like this, what I'm about to say, but, like, I think if you got assimilated by a Borg and you were reverted back, there is no amount of years that will ever make you okay with what
Oh,
happened.
no. Yeah, no, not at all. I don't think so at all.
You will be living with that for your entire life.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, like, even Seven and Picard, even in the first season, Picard was like, he was still haunted by Locutus. But like Seven is still, especially now that she's away from her Borg implants, she doesn't have them. She's even more like, I don't want to think about it. I was
Yeah.
happy not being an XB, which is what
Mhm.
they called in the first season. Like I was happy with that. I don't want to think about it. And then eventually she kind of has to because they need to save Girardi.
Mhm. She has to own up to her past, very much like how Picard has to own up to his past.
Look, we all understand the themes of this season. It's just not necessarily coming together as well as it should be.
I'm just saying, I'm just throwing out these ideas. But
But you're
I
right.
agree with you.
You're right. You're right.
I do like the fact that they are fleshing out these characters and diving more into what makes them who they are, and like
Yeah.
the negatives and the positives of who they are.
No, and I think you're right. There is some good stuff here with the fact that like all these characters have to be okay with what happened in the past to move on, to evolve, to
Yeah.
be better. Like that's what Star Trek is all about. Confronting where you came from so that you can move on and be better.
Mhm.
That's what I love about Star Trek. The idea that no matter what, you can always improve on yourself. You can always be better. You seek to improve oneself.
I
Was
agree.
that's what he says in First Contact to Alfred Woodard. If for those of you who don't remember that Alfred Woodard's in First Contact. Um, did you not remember that?
No, I did not.
Yeah,
Not until you just
she's
not until
Ephraim
you just said
Cochrane.
that, I was like, "Oh, you're right. What I'm an idiot."
She's Ephraim Cochrane's a friend. Yeah. Anyway, um, we seek to improve oneself. We seek to improve ourselves. To seek out new life and new civilizations. Um, yeah, I think that Raffi also has to confront with her manipulativeness because I really like the flashback with Elnor
Mhm.
where she manipulates him into staying with Starfleet, and
Yeah,
now she regrets that because he's dead.
he's dead.
And I'm glad we finally got to there.
Mhm.
Finally glad we got to that moment because I didn't really love vague Raffi being haunted by Elnor. I like that we finally like confronted like no, this is why because she
Yeah.
thinks this is her fault.
Mhm.
He never this never would have happened to him if he had gone back to the Kawat Malat. What are they called?
You're about right. We'll
Is that
call it
it?
that.
Is
I
that
was just
it?
gonna call him Wakanda.
Kawanga?
I was gonna say Kawanga. I was like Wakanda,
I think it's
Kawanga. Let's just go with that.
The Kawat Malat. Discovery used them a lot this season. I forgot what I
That
whatever.
sounds like the Wakandan people.
Right, I think it's Kuat Malat because the Jatvash are the Tal Shiar, the Secret Service that aren't even the Tal Shiar.
Mhm.
That was dumb. I'll be honest. I didn't care for that in the first season.
That
The-
yeah,
the-
that part I
there
was like,
was an even there was an even more Secret Service.
why bring that part up? That was for me. I don't know.
Anyway,
I
doesn't
thought
matter.
that was wasted
This is
opportunity.
this isn't about season one. Um, yeah, so I like that. I enjoyed that bit that she kind of manipulated him through Starfleet,
Mhm.
but she she does not have her kid. She has a kid we said in the first season, but we don't know what happened if they ever reconciled with that because she turned out to be right. Um, and I kind of bummed that we never got that reconciliation. And I think because of that, Elnor has become a surrogate son to her, and so
Yeah.
she is, very regrets how
Mhm.
much she put on him, especially because now he's dead
Mhm.
temporarily. I still think he's coming back.
Even though I don't believe you're a father, but I don't think I'm a father to my knowledge that I know of.
Oh, I might be. There was a girl.
Congratulations.
There was a girl a long time ago. You never know.
There you go. Very true. But I was just gonna say the fact that now that you brought that up, that plot line very much would be interesting to somebody who is a parent and who's put their child through like, hey, I need you to be really good in school. I need you to go and focus. I need you to get good grades so you can have a good career, good life. And they do all that stuff, and their life is not what they expected for their child.
Yeah, he
Or
dies.
things happen. I wasn't going to go that dark, but yes,
But
things
it
happen.
happened.
Yeah, things happen to the child, and now they regret doing what they did as a parent, pushing their child so much. This is like a good little, I don't know, like a good little plot that portrays to different people. Like throughout this entire series, we're getting different plots that actually hit people in the fields for different times in their lives.
Yeah, I agree. Like I've talked about it at length how this season has really spoke to me because of how it deals with mental illness, how it deals with
Yeah.
anxiety and depression, and that's really important to me, and I'm really happy that it's done this, which is probably what the reason why I'm really biased towards the season. Like people talk to me about like Mike, Michael Carl's the Downright Nerdy podcast has not been on the show, not because he does not enjoy Star Trek Picard. He's just been very busy,
Super
but
big.
coincidentally, he does not like this season of Star Trek Picard.
Go
He,
figure.
I think he's used the words "sharp downhill" for me.
Oh,
Um,
Mike, you're killing me. You're
but
killing me.
like, but like, if he brings up any of those points, like even if I agree with some of them, the way the season has spoke to me is in such an emotional way that I could never wholeheartedly agree.
Mhm.
You know. Anyway, I think let's round this off. I think we kind of covered a lot of it. Seven
Yeah.
and Raffi, the emotional weight of them is really great. I really like them diving into the relationship. I hope we get more of them as a couple soon because I want to see more of that. Because we kind of get most of like, they're friendly and they're definitely like a couple, but
Yeah.
they're not really a couple. And I want them to like cross that. I want them to cross that line and finally be like,
I
no,
think
we're a
Yeah,
couple.
I definitely think they will. I think now they've gone over that hump of realizing the failures within each other,
Hmm.
that now they can move past that and grow as a couple.
Yeah, I hope so. By the way, did you have you taken a look at the new tricorders?
I have
Like,
not.
have you like to look at a picture? So apparently, the Galaxy Z Flip.
Is the tricorder.
So the tricorders of the Galaxy Z Flip, the touchscreen flip phone,
Yeah,
that they put like a back on it to make it look like a tricorder. I love it. I want to be
that
clear.
is
I think
hilarious.
it's great.
That is hilarious. That's smart. That's ingenious.
I
I mean,
really
the
want
technology's there.
I really want one now.
Yeah, I don't want one. I
That
feel like
four
I'd break it.
thousand that $4,000 phone. You don't want a $4,000 phone that you can model into a tricorder.
Listen, I got my phone and I had to this big old thing. I had to pull a whole bunch of strings to get this to happen. And
That's
I was
fair.
like, it hurt me to spend all that money.
Okay, so a couple of notes I want to run through before we call it.
Sounds good.
Um, Picard gets to read out Rios' statement from
Mhm.
from when he was held. That was pretty good.
That was hilarious.
When he's just like, "Can you read this?" Is like one crusty old admiral in a robot body.
That was priceless.
Pretty
You know
good.
he's gonna give him hell for that when he finally meets up with him.
I hope so, and I hope we see that. I hope it's not off screen. I hope he's like crusty old admiral. Really. And we finally get resolution on the third episode when Rios left his comm badge
Yeah.
um at Teresa's clinic. That finally came back.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, you set something up. You got to pay that off. Chekhov's comm badge. We finally got there.
Absolutely.
Chekhov's comm badge is interesting because like it could mean like Pavel Chekhov his comm badge, but it's actually just like Chekhov's gun.
Yeah.
You know what that is, right? Chekhov's gun.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. I just
I'm
had to
not
be
an
sure.
idiot. God.
I'm not saying you are. I just had to be sure. Okay,
Oh,
so
let me
the
just Google real quick. Chekhov's gun.
Girardi, Girardi as the Borg Queen is great. I think she's wonderful. I really like
Mhm.
how they're doing this idea that kind of bouncing off of First Contact again, which is that the Queen wanted Locutus and then wanted Data because she is lonely. She has
Mhm.
thousands of voices in her head, but she doesn't have a confidant, and she sees assimilation as filling that gap. While also, like, I think it's both. I think both true. She's lonely and she wants perfection.
Yeah.
She wants her species to be perfect, and so like I think so. I really like the idea of her, of this kind of like, um, we talked about it before. That kind of like, um, what's the word? It's like when you really like something,
Like euphoric.
like euphoric. This like euphoric way that they're doing assimilation. That
Mhm.
it
It's wanted.
yeah, like you want those voices in your head. You miss those. We saw that in Voyager. I think even Seven. Like she had trouble acclimated to there being not any voices
No
in
voices.
her
Yeah.
head.
Correct.
Um, so I really like how they're doing that. I also really like how they're just like, well, she needs crude materials to make these like crude versions of her nanites that will allow her to assimilate, but it's not going to be the same kind of assimilation. It's going to be a very different type of assimilation because of the technology at the top. Right now, she just doesn't have access to that Borg technology that allows them to assimilate, and that would be in
Correct.
La Serena.
Yeah. Before you
Um,
go on, I had a question.
yeah.
Do you think the Borg Queen has seen all of Picard's memories? The memories that we don't know that have been stopped at that point? Because we have like all this memory that was cut off at that point from realizing his mom was going through a trauma.
Not this queen.
Okay, not this one.
No, because this queen is still the one from the alternate timeline.
Okay, all right.
By the way, if Elnor just magically appears in this at the end of the season because whatever, that queen should just magically disappear this season too
Yeah,
because she wouldn't
he wouldn't
exist.
exist. Correct.
It'd be a different queen anyway.
Gotcha.
Right, but it is a different queen. Like I think like Alice Krieg, the queen from the prime timeline. Like
Mhm.
I think yeah, she knows everything. She's seen everything.
Okay.
Really, I really like this girl, Annie Wershing, I think is her name, who plays the queen. But sometimes, some part of me still wonders, like, man, Alice Krieg would have made a meal out of this stuff.
Well, I
This
mean,
would
she's
have,
lived it for so long.
I know, it would have been a lot of fun to see her in this role again.
It would have been. But then that's the case, you gotta keep Whoopi Goldberg.
Not necessarily.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think
That if
so.
I was Whoopi, I'd be kind of upset, like, "Wait a second, she gets to come back, but I'd only get 1 episode?"
Right, but because of the time travel aspect of it,
Yeah, you gotta go
Guinan
back.
didn't travel through time.
Yeah, you're right, touche, touche.
Yeah. By the way, the girl who plays Guinan in the show, I forgot her
Spot
name.
on.
She's perfect. I love her.
Yeah,
She but I'm having some issues with I really like arm definition in
okay,
women,
okay.
and when she like folds her arms once, I'm like, oh girl, woo. um, Step
That's
on me
great.
anyway. I hope nobody heard that. Okay,
Oh, it's not like this is going out to the internet.
this is going out to the internet. This is going out to everybody.
Exactly.
um okay, so the con badge, we talked about Guinan's power. Okay, Soong's role, um I'm still confused how Soong plays into Q's Q's plan, especially when it comes to Corey. Especially when it comes to Corey, like that VR thing made no sense to me.
Mhm.
Like that was like magic technology that I'm just like I don't know what's happening right now. What do we need
That
this
was
for?
plan B.
Is it? This is all should be Plan A.
It should be, but it's Q. Q has to know that, okay, no matter what he does, he's going to win.
Yeah, right. But so what? What is Corey's role? What is whatever? It doesn't matter. The VR thing was weird, and it didn't work for me.
Okay.
Um, and I think that the just kind of have another negative, I guess. The way they just kind of like there's two ways this goes. Either Renee Picard gets in that ship and changes life on Earth forever, or she doesn't, and they turn to your science, and you become the godfather of the future.
Yep.
I wish that we got more of that. I wish that there was more present through the season. I wish that we got more of why Sung was so important. Because all we know is that Sung's a disgraced scientist, and now we
Mhm.
know that this disgraced scientist that everybody hates, that who thinks is a crackpot, is going to be the person who changes the course of the future into a totalitarian dictatorship.
Yep.
I would have liked more of that throughout the season. Kind of more pieces to piece that together myself for the audience. Just kind of, by the way, this is what's happening. Just
I can
didn't do
agree.
it for me.
I got you.
All right. I even wrote the VR thing is weird. That's funny. um, uh, yeah. Okay. I think that's really all I need to talk about.
Awesome.
Yeah. Man, this was long for one episode.
Yeah, but it was a really good episode. That's what I said. There was a lot to unpack on this episode. Even though it was a filler, there was so much plot that was enhanced and solved.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. Like I know that I was really negative up top, but there are things that I really like in this season. I really like this season. I think the energy of the season is really strong. I think the storytelling in the season is really strong. So that's why it's weird. So that's why it stands out to me when things like this, like I don't feel are as strong as what we've seen before. That's why
Mhm.
I get more critical about that because of that. But all in all, I really like this season of Picard. Um, and I'm really excited for the last two episodes. I can't wait.
Yeah,
So stoked to see
same here. Same here.
where this goes. And I'm happy to be here. Like I'm happy to be in a place where like Picard went from a show that I just didn't care about in the first season to a show that I really like.
Makes me happy. Makes me a
Yeah.
happy camper.
All right. Let's call it there then.
Sounds good, man. Sounds like a plan.
Cookie from Just a Little Podcast, plug your stuff.
All right. You can find me on social media, just little podcast on Instagram, just podcasting on Twitter. I'm on TikTok. I've started throwing up some videos on there, trying to get into the swing of TikTok, but I'm not as young as I once used to be, so it's a little challenging to go and make that happen. I made you laugh.
No, I choked on my water.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like you're on TikTok, Cookie. Yeah. I think I'm under.
Ben's on TikTok. I don't care.
Oh, okay. I think it's just podcasting on TikTok. I drop a new episode every single Tuesday. I dropped an episode at the time of this recording has already happened. I actually had a conversation with my good buddy John from Marvelous Comics, who is a big integral part of just a little podcast. He's been a good sponsor for me, so wanted to go and actually have a talk with him and talk comics. Past that, yeah, that's about it for me.
What's your latest episode going to be about? Do you know?
The next coming up, I usually cover over some news highlights, but I might have another guest on. I'm trying to work some magic with a few different people to see if I can get some people on there. So fingers crossed. I really want to I'm going to put it out into the ether. So hopefully I can make it happen. But one of the voice actors that actually goes and narrates a lot of the Star Wars books, I'm trying to get him onto an episode. I want to reach out to him in the near future to try to get him on and see what happens.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate
Absolutely.
you.
It's a blast.
I'm really happy we get to do this. Just two more episodes left. I would like to do them one episode each because we got Strange New Worlds coming up soon.
Yeah.
2 weeks, man. I'm so excited
It's
for Strange
crazy.
New Worlds.
Mike better come back for that one. At least for episode 1.
He's got to be, right? So like hopefully schedules will pan out that we can do that the right way, which is one episode for each of those episodes. So stay tuned for that. Guys, this is Victor's Watch series. If you've been following along this series and you know kind of the drill at this point, we've got plenty of episodes of other Star Trek shows that we've done. And there's currently a Moon Knight. I stumbled on those words. A Moon Knight Fichtner's Watch series out now. My friends over on the Fichtner podcast, we're doing our Moon Knight discussion. New episode will be sometime and at the end of this week or next. We're just kind of there's a lot happening in our lives right now. It's been a busy couple of weeks for a lot of people, so we're just kind of waiting for the fires to die down.
For sure.
But there's plenty of Fake Nerds Watch for you guys to watch if you guys are so inclined. And there's plenty of other shows. If you like this video and you subscribe to this channel, you can check out all sorts of other things, such as Basement Arcade, which is our video game Let's Play show, Basement Arcade Pause Menu, which is our award-winning video game discussion show, Animation Station, our animation discussion show, and Big Nerd Book Club, which are our comic book discussion show. Conversation is an audio show that we do, that I do. Season 2 is slow going. Again, a lot of fires I'm trying to put out, but it's slow going, but it's happening, and I'm very excited for it. Hopefully, you will be my next guest. I think I'm going to try and talk to you about that. I don't mean to like put the spotlight on you. All right, so of course there's the Fickner podcast. This is all part of the Fickner podcast family of podcasts, which starts at the top with Fickner podcast. There's all sorts of cool stuff that we do every Sunday. We didn't last Sunday; we were off, but this coming Sunday, we have a new episode every night. We do episodes every night, Sunday night, live. It's live recordings. We did news and reviews, topics, book club, things like that. This week, I think we're talking about The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which is the new Nick Cage movie.
Have you seen it?
Not yet. I'm seeing it Friday.
Oh, let me know, because I want to see it. I've heard nothing but good things about it.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. We're very excited for that. That'll be this Sunday. Whenever you're watching this, it either already happened or it's about to happen. Just and if it already happened, then Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is coming up. So
there you go.
All right, so that'll do it. I'm at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. You can find all the social medias. Fickner podcast on all social medias. We have a TeePublic and we have a Patreon. It's probably linked below if you want to support us financially. I write a ton of stuff on the internet. You can check out my works on Atomic Geekdom, where I'm writing a revisiting the Infinity Saga series, which is kind of on a little bit of a break right now, but there is a piece coming up soon. I'm very proud of. So stay tuned for that. Then there is my Screen Rant work, which I write a ton of lists for Screen Rant. Very happy with those. Really enjoy working for that place. And Kaiju Ramen, where I edit their website, kaijuramenmedia.com. You can check out all those sites on the internet. Just, you guys know how to use Google. All right, so that'll do it. Again, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and until next time you see us, guys, live long and prosper.